Welcome back. This is going to be Gary Johnson part 2. We're going to be looking into where he stands on libertarian issues and building off the last video. We might actually go into 3 or 4 videos because the number of issues that are coming up in the news and just my conversations with friends on this. I feel like a lot needs to be said about him, so let's get started. We're going to start this part 2 out with Gary Johnson and a little bit of Bill Weld on how they see the United States here in 2016. Let's go to that.
I want to hear about your vision of America right now because, we've just come out of the 2 conventions where we heard very different visions of America. Donald Trump's vision of how things are right now and certainly Hillary Clinton's as well. How do you see where America is at?
I don't think life in America has ever been better. I mean, we get along better, we communicate better, our kids are smarter than ever. We've got issues. I mean, when you look at Black Lives Matter, when you look at the discrimination that is existing, that has existed, but I think we're coming to grips with that. We're communicating better than we've ever communicated before. So we're going to come to grips with this. And we do have issues, but we need to address them. So optimism.
The country's in a fine place.
Yeah, I mean, optimism is good, but there's such a thing as burying your head in the sand and not looking at reality too. And look, one of the things with the party that's in power is they try to make things look rosier than they really are. So the Democrats, in their state, in their a convention, and whenever you talk to them, they want to paint a very positive picture of the country, like 8 years of Obama has resulted in all this wonderful perfume smell that is great. And then if you looked at the Republicans, it's the opposite. So in this case, the Libertarians are definitely parroting the Democratic message of everything's great, it's never been better, we communicate better, we get along better. Sure, we got a few problems, but overall, it's the best time ever in American history. That's just total bullshit. The debt, if we look at the national debt clock, it's just about doubled under Obama in 8 years. He's created more debt than every president put together in the entire history of the United States. And from a libertarian perspective, this is not good. It's libertarians are about sound fiscal policy, honest money, and this just flies in the face of all the libertarian principles in terms of debt. Now the Democrats will play games with the deficit, which is what the difference is, every year at the end of the budget cycle and how much is owed and how it's come down, because he borrowed so much early on in his administration, Obama, that now he's borrowing less and less. So the trend looks like he's producing less deficits, but the debt continues to climb. So total crap. And for the Libertarians, Johnson to be saying this, it's I don't know how. It's very telling. I think this is a very telling piece when he's sitting here telling you how great things are, and maybe from a Marxist point of view, things are getting better, but definitely from a freedom point of view, a libertarian point of view, nationalist point of view, Johnson is fucking lying, and he's I don't like it. This is just terrible. Let's move on. So the GDP, U.S. GDP growth rates. Real gross domestic product increase at an annual rate of 1.1% in the second quarter of 2016. And if you look at this graph, the average rate of the United States from 1947 until 2016 was 3.22%. But since Obama's been in, it's been really bad. And the past year has been even worse. Things are not getting better. This is not the best time we've ever had. United States trade balances, if you look from 1950 until current, after we started these trade deals, NAFTA, not TTP, but GATT and all these other trade deals, our trade balance of trade has plummeted. There's been some rebounding. That blip there in 2011, you see where it goes straight up. I believe that is from the quantitative easing and all the funny money that they were making at the Fed. But then you see after that it's continued back down, and it's cyclical as far as if you look at the individual closing in on the months and stuff. It does go up and down, but overall the trend is down. So it's certainly not the best things have ever been. The country is not in a fine place, William Weld.
The country's in a fine place.
Oh, terrible. Food prices. They have been going down historically, even as last year, but 2016, food prices have begun to go back up. And this is from the United Nations Food and Agricultural Organization I'm getting these statistics from. And you gotta understand that if you go to try to get really good food that's healthy, the prices are a lot higher, because we sometimes shop at more healthy places, and if you go to some of the cheaper places that's got the GMOs, that's got the artificial ingredients, that's got the hormone injections into the meats, yes, those foods are cheaper, and I don't, this chart doesn't show those statistics. It's just taking everything as a whole. But if you want to eat good and healthy, it's even more expensive and higher than what this is showing. Unemployment rates. We've got the official, and then there's unemployment rates. There's a U6, U3, and then there's the old statistical method used prior to 1994 that they no longer use, because it would show the unemployment rate at up nearly 25%. The seasonally adjusted SGS alternative employment rate, that was the rate they used. That was the method they used before 1994 to track unemployment, which is near 25%. And then you got the U3 unemployment rate is the monthly headliner. That's the one they use when they talk about it on the news and this and that shows us we're only at around 5%. So again, with numbers and statistics, there's always a lot of playing around with the numbers to make things look better than they really are. But this John Williams shadow stats using the 1994 method shows us nearing a 25% unemployment rate. Definitely not the best it's ever been. We do have lots of articles about people taking second and third jobs to bridge their income gap. And a lot of this has to do with Obamacare and people trying to keep their hours, companies trying to keep their employee hours down so they don't have to give the extra benefits. So they'll, drop their employment from full-time to part-time, 25 to 30 hours a week. From personal experience, when I worked at a big Fortune 100 company, I was a manager in the evening, and I had several part-time employees working for me, and it was very important for me to keep them under 25 hours so that we wouldn't be into the having to provide extra benefits and stuff. So you see this, and people are having to get second jobs just to bridge their needs for income. And a lot of this stuff about job creation from the Obama administration is that these people are losing their full-time jobs and having to get 2 other jobs, just to supplement their income, and then they'll show that as a job creation. So it's just terrible. It is absolutely terrible what they're doing. And for Gary Johnson to get up there and talk about how things are better than they've ever been.
I don't think life in America has ever been better.
Okay, so, and then the polls about, is the U.S. going in the right direction or wrong direction? Everything you can find shows people think that the country is heading in the wrong direction. From mainstream media no newspaper polls, Facebook polls, and a lot of them like this it's the Huffington Post. I think they took all the hundreds of polls and put them together to see like a little scatter graph here. But still, it shows the same thing, that we're going in the wrong direction. I was trying to find something that would break it down by party, Republican or Democrat. It's pretty hard to find. I did find this one poll put out by High Point University in North Carolina, where Democrats still think things are going. This was as February 2016. Democrats thought things were going in the right direction, which plays back to what I was saying for William Weld and Gary Johnson to say things are really good. They're echoing the Democratic talking points of things are going in the right direction. I would be happy to be pointed in some other directions that would show the opposite of the Democrats saying one thing and the Republicans saying something else. But the vast majority of people, when you put it all together, do say things are going in the wrong direction, and they say it by a large margin. It's only the Democrats that seem to be split, whereas they're 50-50. And especially the Democratic Party and the operatives, they want you to think that things are going in the right direction because they've been in control, at least from an executive point of view, for 8 years. In race relations, he talked a lot about communication being better and great optimism, but the general consensus is that we are at the lowest point since 1992 in race relations. Everybody's saying we're at a bottom. Let's see this last one here. It's race relations in the U.S. by the CBS News New York Times poll. 69% of respondents say that we have very bad we have bad race relations, opposed to 26% thinking that we do have good relations. And as far as communications, that we have the best communications that ever exist, look, the country's divided, and we have quite a confirmation bias within all of the parties and all the different ways of looking at things. Let's just read this. Confirmation bias is also known as a selective collection of evidence. It is considered as an effective information processing where people behave as to make their expectations come true. People tend to favor information that confirms their preconceptions or hypothesis independently of the information's truthfulness or falsity. Where do your beliefs and opinions come from? If you are like most people, you probably like to believe that your beliefs are the results of years of experience and objective analysis of the information you have available. The reality is that all of us are susceptible to a tricky problem known as confirmation bias. While we like to imagine that our beliefs are rational, logical, and objective, the fact is that our ideas are often based on paying attention to the information that upholds our ideas and ignoring the information that changes our existing beliefs. And I think I can't really find any studies done on this. There might be some out there. There probably is, and if you know of them, please send them to me. But a lot of people are talking about this confirmation bias, especially now with, the internet, whereas 20 years ago, everybody was pretty much getting the same information from the 3 big news sources and had the same opinions about things. So this confirmation bias, just for the fact that we have so many more sources of news, has grown and has thus divided the country in a lot of ways. And I do not think that we are communicating with each other like Gary Johnson's trying to say that we have the best communication ever. We have more ways to communicate with people, that's true, but are we really communicating with one another? Are we understanding our points of views? Are we coming to a consensus on things? I'd say we're not, based upon how split. If you look at the electoral in the past few years, how the elections have been decided more and more closer to 50-50 in the Supreme Court, 5-4, 5-4, 4-5. We are not communicating with each other. We're not coming to a consensus on things. Gary Johnson is just parroting the Democratic talking points of things are great. They've never been better. William Weld, the country is in a fine place. That's rubbish. And if you buy into this stuff, what these two jokers are saying, I'm afraid you're into your own confirmation bias with these two, thinking that things are so great and grandiose. It's just not true. Okay, so we're gonna have to wrap it up here, but I want to give a parting thought. If things are so great, like Gary and William Weld try to say, why are they running? Why is there a third party? If the two-party system is doing such a great job of making the country a fine place to live, why are these two running? You would think if a third party was asked that question, they would be giving reasons that they need to be running and things that only a third party or their perceived perception could do to make things better for people. Why are they parroting the Democratic line that everything is fine? I just don't believe that they're true libertarians. And I think the evidence is overwhelming that they're just shills for the establishment. So we'll continue on this line of thought in the next part of this. So thanks for your attention and see you later.